What's up and welcome to the Sam Dracula channel. My name is Sam and the Hornets are back active again, trading another center away. Nurkic for Collin Sexton and a second round pick. Just happened like 5 minutes ago. The Utah Jazz are trading Collin Sexton and a 2030 second round pick to the Charlotte Hornets for Jusuf Nurkic. Bruh. This is interesting for so many reasons and we're just going to take each one beat by beat. I think after a really well navigated and operated NBA draft couple of days, the Charlotte Hornets continued to cook, and they took a redundancy in the front court and added backcourt depth. Okay, let's start with the Nurkic piece, and then we'll move to Sexton since he's coming to Charlotte. I think that's what it's headed, by the way. This seems like a move that's going to stick around, like a player that's going to stick around, because we've seen these types of moves in the past. You're with your Kyle Lowry or your Reggie Jackson twice, Devontae Graham, the Hornets acquiring a veteran player with no intention of keeping him. I'd be shocked. This doesn't feel like that. This feels like a redistribution of talent within the roster and acquiring a second round pick in the process. The second rounders are going to become more and more valuable in the second apron era, right? And that the Hornets are clearly not allergic to acquiring second round picks. But for the Nurkic piece, so sticking on Nurkic for now. Nurkic, in the last year of his deal, around $19 million, he was never meant to be a part of the plan here, right? The value in acquiring him at last year's deadline was to gain draft capital, right? And that was the main focus of it, and some cap relief. But the main thing, the pick from Phoenix. And that pick is a 2026 first-round draft pick. I think there's some weird qualifications around it. I don't think it's a very clean pick, but a first-round pick is a first-round draft pick. And that was the reason they really traded for Nurkic last season. So looking at them moving Mark Williams, moving Nurkic now, right? Diabate is still around, and they just drafted Kalkbrenner in the second round. I think Kalkbrenner's age and ability, he can play right now. And plus, also with the added caveat is the team's expectations aren't play in and play off right now. They're not pushing for that. So they can take their time and redistribute their assets, see what they got with Sexton, and move on from Nurkic and see what they got from Kalkbrenner right away. Like they can fast track him, assuming that's the plan, into the mix. I would still argue you probably need another center in the mix, and that could mean Taj Gibson returns because of it. But largely, moving on from Nurkic, who was a short-term asset, short-term Hornet from day one, makes a lot of sense. And truthfully, I thought this would come later in the year, where you would see Nurkic, Diabate as your first and second string centers, Kalkbrenner as your third center, right? Getting his mix in over the season, and then eventually you'd feel comfortable with Kalkbrenner, and that's when you would trade Nurkic later on in the season, closer to the deadline, as a team is trying to fortify things or tank and looking to just dump contracts and bank on Nurkic's expiring contract. But no, they're like, no, you know what? Free agency starts soon. We're just going to do this now. Looking at Collin Sexton coming back the other way, that makes so much sense. Like so much sense for where the Hornets are right now and where they could be in the future. It's difficult to look at this and not think about Trey Mann. So I'll go back to Collin Sexton in a second. But the Trey Mann piece of this, that is unresolved as of now. Jeff Peterson has said the priority is to bring Trey back, and I think they should. But if there is a serious gap in what he wants and what the team wants and what the perceived market value would be, that may be a little difficult. And so this may be Trey Mann insurance, just in the very short term, until that Trey Mann situation is figured out. This is what this feels like. So if everything plays out well and Trey returns, having Trey Mann and Collin Sexton in your backcourt, behind LaMelo Ball, behind Knipple if he plays the two, if you want to move Miller to that, Josh Green in that mix, all right, Nick Smith Jr. in that mix, Sion James in that mix. Like the backcourt looks way better than it did yesterday. And that is a nice piece of business because Sexton, like Nurkic, expiring contract. So if it doesn't work, worst case scenario, it's a push salary cap wise, and you gain a second round pick to play with later, right? But at the best case scenario, Sexton gets a 1-year audition, right, in this mix, in this city with these players to see what works best, and what kind of player he wants to be. Because I always viewed him as a guy who should be a distributor, as a playmaker, not necessarily as a primary scorer. Now, looking at his numbers, he shoots the ball really well. He shot the ball really well last few years. Basically ever since he went to Utah, he put up a lot of numbers, but that was a really bad team. So it's that old adage, like, good stats, bad team. What's it really mean? He has some playmaking about him, but that's not his primary thing. And so when you're talking like team needs, the team needed and needs a backup playmaking guard. And Trey Mann isn't really that guy. Collin Sexton is not really that guy. But as a backup, as a second unit guy, maybe he can be. And maybe that's what the vision is between the two of them, right? They could alternate that role from playmaker or scorer, and they can flip-flop back in between themselves, depending on the matchup and the night. It's a good look. It's a good option, and it's really solid depth, and I think a really savvy move by the Charlotte Hornets. The perception for the Hornets are always going to be what it is, mostly negative because of the Robert Johnson years, because of the Michael Jordan years, and it's all earned and deserved, right? But for folks that are really paying attention to what's going on since the takeover, since the ownership change, since Kupchak's been replaced, since Clifford's been fired, this iteration of the Charlotte Hornets has been really focused and has had a real vision. And as a fan, I'm saying this as a person who doesn't expect many wins this season. I love where this team is headed, even though the goal of the playoffs seems far away. I think this team is truly a year away from being a year away in like the most positive sense possible. And moves like this make me feel like when the time comes, they can really push for it. I like this stuff a lot. It's really encouraging to see a level of like savviness and competency from this front office that I think will pay off in a big way in the future. And so beyond this, the Hornets still, I believe, have their mid-level available to them. There was some stuff about Ty Jerome potentially coming this way. That's probably off the cards, off the table now, right, with this acquisition. So that's fine. Some Chris Paul rumors, like that would be the dream, honestly, for me, is for them to bring Chris Paul to Charlotte finally, right? And you would have your backup veteran leader point guard, the tutor for LaMelo, the tutor for Collin Sexton, the tutor for Trey Mann, the tutor for Knipple, Brandon Miller, like these young guys who have never played with a Hall of Famer before. Like the level of like competency and basketball intelligence would raise up significantly if you add Chris Paul to this roster. And so that would be awesome. But he may be still trying to win a ring. I don't know. I don't know where his priorities are. He played at San Antonio last year, so I don't know what Chris Paul's focus is. But that's a topic for another day. I'll probably talk about tomorrow. The plan right now is to go live to talk Hornets with Balta tomorrow. So make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that live stream or the video on demand afterwards. So whether you're playing Sexton next to LaMelo, behind LaMelo, or just in place of him, I think that works for now, right? I think Trey Mann in that mix could be put into that mix as well. I'm just really interested. It's really interesting the timing of all this because sorry for the tangent, but a late Friday night tweet last week from Shams about Trey Mann from his agent about him being healthy was really weird. Like a really weird thing to tweet. And it felt like it was something you send out when numbers aren't matching up between the agency and the basketball team. And it's like a leverage play. And Shams was doing the agency a solid putting that out there to put pressure on the organization theoretically to get the deal done before restricted free agency opens up. I'm wondering if the talks aren't moving as the team expected. Like, yo, let's look at Collin Sexton and just rock with him, and then we'll see what happens with Trey Mann in the open market. And the Hornets could match. They could choose not to match. We'll see. But they don't need to do that now because they have Sexton in the mix. But just to put a bow on this, the Nurkic era was fun for a while, I wish him the best in Utah. Charlotte still needs another center, but I think they can confirm having just a veteran minimum center coming to the mix, and so he can be the leader of that position group with Nurkic, with Diabate and Kalkbrenner in the mix, and I think that's pretty solid. There's a lot of offseason left. I really like this move. I really like it for what Sexton is as a player, where the Hornets are as a franchise, and what this roster badly needs. And there's something to keep an eye on, man. I feel like this could be it for Trey Mann. I hope it's not, but this feels like it could be it. But let me know how you feel about Sexton coming into town, how you feel about Nurkic leaving, how you feel about Trey Mann's future potentially, how you feel about the Hornets if they need another center. Let me know in the comments below or on Twitter at Sam Dracula. Link in the description. But until next time, man, well, I'll keep it locked. I'll be here making videos on Hornet stuff as it happens. So until next time, I've been Sam. You've been great. Peace.